Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, a long-awaited school finally opens up to students. Plus, multiple arrests in our city after a deadly stabbing in the downtown core. A look at bright lights. How did it do this year? We'll tell you about the impact. And business owners are worried about crime downtown, especially after a couple of break-ins from a thief dubbed the Butter Tart Bandit. We'll hear more from businesses tonight. It's been years in the making. Catholic Central High School finally has a new, updated building. The former building was no longer suitable to the expanding student needs. TJ Deere was there as the doors opened for the first time.
Today marks a new era for Catholic Central High School. Walking through the doors, students finally got to check out their new building, and they loved it.
It's so wide and it looks so new, and it's too different from the old school.
It looks amazing. Everything is new. Everything has been waiting for this moment, to be honest. It's been a long time, and everything just looks perfect.
One student was looking forward to this day so much, he spent 170 hours creating a model of the new school in Minecraft.
To my surprise, it's actually really similar. This first common area here, it looks almost identical to the one that I made. It almost feels like deja vu. I haven't been in this building before, but I feel like I've walked through it already.
With the students' approval in check, school board representatives were also pleased.
Really amazing to see staff and students in a building, state-of-the-art building, just exciting news for our students and our staff, and it's been taking a number of years, but here we are.
Initially passed over by the province's 2015 list of schools to be replaced, students learned a year later that they'd be getting a new one. The school was supposed to open in September 2022. Supply chain issues pushed opening to today. There's still certain parts of the school under construction. Highlights of the new school include a massive gym, a technology center, and an open common area right by the front entrance. An outdoor football field and running track is also set to be included, but it won't be ready until next year. Getting to the school is another issue, with railroad tracks being right next door. Students say that if trains are passing through, the school would be cut off. The principal says the school and the board are trying to make sure this does not become a problem.
We've already been working with our partners at CP Rail. They've come in well before we moved in here during that last few weeks of school. We worked with our partners at Transit Windsor. They came in and redid routes for our students and looked at areas that would make access much more accessible for us.
Roberto says even though the new school is impressive, it's important to remember the past as they look to the future.
A legacy never ends. Although chapters may come to a close, those who have written a page in history will pass down their pen to the next generation.
Roberto says as Catholic Central's next generation, the pen is in their hands. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
The Bright Lights Christmas display is reportedly a huge success, according to the city of Windsor. And as Del Molnar reports, organizers say the Jackson Park event is continuing to have spin-off benefits for the rest of the community.
The decorations and lights are coming down in Jackson Park after the 5-week Bright Lights event ended Sunday. It was back in full swing after 2 years of pandemic protocols, and the city reports that more than 100,000 people attended, many from out of town.
It's from all over the world that people come, because people that come to Windsor as family, this is where they come. They come to this free family event for them to show and really celebrate Windsor. I just spoke to somebody yesterday that had visited for the first time. They're originally from Toronto.
The event has been chosen the best outdoor event in Windsor, Essex for the 4th time through a Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island promotion.
Well, it becomes an annual tradition, and without question, people look forward to it, and it keeps growing, and they reinvent the festival and reinvent itself.
Even though the event features vendors, Michelle Stadegaard says the visitors end up patronizing other businesses in Windsor.
People have gone to Erie Street, they've gone to Ottawa Street, they've gone downtown, they go for dinner before Bright Lights, and they come here, they have a snack, they have a pretzel, hot chocolate.
Krista Gamble and her husband Jeff were vendors at the first Bright Lights event in 2017. They were able to open their first What's Poppin' store with the money they earned from that event.
The community and the people that rallied around the vendors at that event, it showed us that we could do this on our own, and we could open a store, because we were always just a mobile food vendor. And it gave us the courage to take the step, and we did, and it's been amazing ever since.
The couple now has 2 locations in Windsor.
We also have charitable organizations that are here every year. They raise lots of funds and also awareness as well for some of our local charities.
The city was surveying visitors to the latest event to see what they'd like to see at Bright Lights 2023. Meanwhile, Ward 3 Councillor Ronaldo Agostino would like to see the event expanded to downtown.
Whether it's an extension of Bright Lights or whether it's moving Bright Lights down to the riverfront or down to City Hall, somewhere closer to the core, but something that's not a 2 or 3 month endeavor, something that we use year round, something that really lights up and beautifies our downtown. And that's a big thing that I want to accomplish in the next few years.
If you want to tell the city what you'd like to see at Bright Lights Windsor this coming Christmas, there's a survey online now on the city's website. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The victim of last night's stabbing in downtown Windsor has died. Police say the 39-year-old man was attacked on Glengarry Avenue. A 47-year-old man was arrested at the scene, and police later arrested a 51-year-old man on Windsor Avenue and a 30-year-old woman and 28-year-old man on Church Street. All 4 will be charged with first-degree murder. The Major Crimes Unit believes it was a targeted attack, and police say this is the city's first homicide case of the year. Smoke could be seen billowing out of the roof of an older home on Crawford Avenue last night. About half a dozen fire trucks and other emergency vehicles were on scene around 9 Monday evening. Windsor Fire says no one was hurt, though there's an estimated $600,000 in damages. The cause is undetermined. Windsor's downtown has been in the spotlight after a man broke into a local shop to steal butter tarts, not once, but twice. The owner of Laverne's Market is worried it's part of a larger pattern downtown, and they're not alone. CBC's Mike Evans spoke with other businesses in the area who feel like targets.
About 4 weeks ago, at about 10 o'clock at night, there was some customers sitting at the table right here, and that table as well, and there was just a large bang, and shards of glass kind of flew everywhere, which startled everybody, so we went outside, and we found one of these lug nuts outside, and then at about 2:30 in the morning, we got hit again with another one, and 2 weeks later, got hit again, 2 days in a row with two more nuts. There have been other businesses where it's happened to, they've replaced it, and they shot it again. It seems to be they're hitting the small business places.
What would a price tag be on replacing a window like this one?
At least $800 to $1,000 each and every time. It is very frustrating. I mean, it's just when you see me get over one problem, something else happens. Last year it was people stealing copper off AC units. I mean, it just seems to be a trend after trend after trend.
In the evening time, I was in the store, just there wasn't anything suspicious around, just suddenly bang, and I thought it was somebody just hit the window, but it's after that smash. And on camera I can see just car passing same time when smashing. It is very frustrating actually, because we are too small to repair a window. They targeting small businesses because nobody going to catch them, or it's a big question. I don't think I'm going to fix my window. Honestly to say, I'm own business. This is not my building. Whatever city, if you want to help, this I don't wish to work anymore for criminal people. Why?
Another alert today over a high number of opioid overdoses in our community. It comes from the Windsor-Essex Community Opioid and Substance Strategy. There were 13 opioid overdoses reported between December 29th and January 4th. 8 of those involved fentanyl. And on a single day, January 4th, there were 10 opioid overdose emergency department visits. This is the first opioid alert of the new year, following 11 alerts last year, with 2 last month alone. Today, the Minister of Health was asked about internal documents that show her ministry acknowledged months ago that Bill 124 was a challenge to retaining healthcare workers. And we spoke to a nurse who's already decided she's leaving the province, in part because of that bill, which limits wages. Lorenda Redekop has more.
Nicole Forster is a registered nurse in London, working in a rehab setting. She says the workload keeps increasing.
I love what I do and where I work and the clientele I work with. And it's everything else that makes it hard to keep doing what I love.
So she's leaving for Alberta, even though she only graduated less than 3 years ago. Part of the reason, the bill limiting her wage.
Bill 124 just adds insult to injury. We feel this increased need and responsibility, and then we just don't have anything to show.
Yesterday, we revealed internal government documents from a Freedom of Information request, part of the incoming health minister's transition binder. It recognized that one challenge for retaining staff is Bill 124. Today, Health Minister Sylvia Jones was asked about the documents, but didn't directly respond, speaking instead about a challenging time for healthcare workers.
It is, frankly, why we did things like making that commitment and giving an additional $5,000 to full-time RNs working in the province of Ontario.
However, that $5,000 bonus was announced months before she received these documents and under the previous health minister.
This investment will help us to retain the nurses that we already have.
It was likely already taken into account in the documents.
I know that it's going to demoralize more nurses when they see her, when they hear her response.
The opposition health critic says more needs to be done to keep nurses here.
Usually not a day goes by that I don't have a nurse calling. Usually they cry. They know that their patient needs them. They know that their coworkers need them, that they're going to be working short if they don't show, but they can't take this anymore.
Nicole Forrester says she's always wanted to move west, but has no job lined up, and says she's not alone in wanting to go.
It's a conversation daily on my unit that where we all look at each other and say, why are we nurses? Why did we start this? Why are we still sitting here doing this after everything that's happened?
It's too late to keep her, but she hopes the government will do more for the nurses still here. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
CBC has learned which companies got taxpayer money from Ontario's $100 million Tourism Recovery Fund. The list includes major airlines as well as breweries, wineries, and movie theater chains. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the story.
It's a cold winter's day outside, but inside it's a tropical garden. The Cambridge Butterfly Conservatory is one of the most popular tourist attractions in this part of Ontario.
One just landed right over there.
Yes, so this is a zebra butterfly.
The conservatory welcomed tens of thousands of visitors annually before the pandemic, but like tourism facilities across Ontario, 2020's lockdowns hit this place hard.
Significant drop in revenue for us. Once the closures ended and we were able to reopen, it meant that we had to operate at reduced capacity, which again affected our revenues.
The Butterfly Conservatory applied for a provincial grant for tourism operators affected by the pandemic. It received $60,000.
It was very important for us to get that funding. It offset payroll costs because that's our biggest significant cost is keeping people employed. Without the government funding, it would have been difficult for us to keep the same level of employment going.
By the time Ontario's tourism grants started flowing, it was more than 2 years after lockdowns began.
Earlier would have helped to avoid, certain loans that we had to take and pay back.
Grape Escape runs wine tours in Niagara. The company got $80,000 from the fund.
Earlier would have been nice, and obviously a little bit more money would have been nice too.
Despite the delays, tourism operators generally welcomed the funding.
Actual monies that people could put towards paying salaries, reopening costs and operational costs. And so there was a lot of positive feedback from our members for the program itself.
The biggest grants were nearly $700,000 each. That's how much went to airlines, including Air Canada, WestJet, and Porter. Other companies that received the maximum, the Cineplex chain of movie theaters, Amsterdam Breweries in Toronto, and Andrew Peller Limited, which owns one of Ontario's biggest wineries. A spokesperson for the tourism minister said businesses that offered visitor experiences, tours, information sessions, and demonstrations were eligible.
Because this is a place where you can escape, you can get away from it all.
That desire for escape is what the tourism industry is counting on for its future. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Cambridge.
The North American Leaders Summit kicked off today in Mexico City. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador is playing host to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Joe Biden. The trio have a number of items on the agenda, including trade, supply chain issues, migration, energy issues, and their commitment to defending North America. Earlier, Trudeau met face-to-face with Joe Biden. The pair talked about a range of matters, from the Nexus Traveler program to the security situation in Haiti and green energy. Biden says he will be making his first official visit to Canada as president in March. A live look outside there. We were lucky to get a little bit of sun again today, but it did transition to a very cloudy afternoon, and we've got a chance of flurries tonight. Coming up, we will have your full weather forecast. Stay with us. Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, is now the fastest-selling nonfiction book in the UK ever, according to the publisher. The highly anticipated account of his life as a royal and split from the family was officially released today after leaked copies caused a media frenzy last week. CBC's Abiku Hadassan has the report from London.
No massive lines outside bookstores like this one, but that doesn't mean Prince Harry's memoir isn't doing well. The online sales really telling the tale. Waterstones says that Spare is its biggest pre-order in a decade, and the book is already a #1 bestseller on Amazon UK. Some people who came out of the bookstore book in hand, said they're looking forward to hearing the story of Prince Harry from the man himself. Others weren't very impressed.
A lot of the British people just miss that old Harry. We want our happy Harry back, you know? So I won't be reading it.
I'm going on holiday with some friends. I thought, what better present can I give the group than a book on Harry?
I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to read what he's got to say.
He's come out of the institution, stay out of it, earn a living a different way, you know?
To leave the family and to leave their country, I want to know in his words, why?
Now, we've heard about some of the major revelations in recent days, but the book does provide some context. He shares stories about his family. One of the major themes is grief. He says that after the death of his mother, he had a hard time coming to terms with it, that for years he believed she would make a triumphant return or that he would see her on the street. He also talks about his sibling rivalry with his brother, Prince William, and how that morphed into something bigger as the years went on, and he made sure to highlight the fact that it didn't start with Meghan. Now, Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace have not yet commented on this book, just as they didn't comment after the release of the Netflix special. Royal commentators believe that the family is hoping that all of this will blow over before the king is crowned at his coronation in May. Abby Kuadas, CBC News, London.
Time now for a look at weather. Here's Jordan Reed.
Well, thank you so much, and a happy Tuesday to you. It was a cloudy day in Windsor. I'm sure you're wondering, when will the sun come out? Well, not tomorrow, unfortunately, but we do have some warm above seasonal temperatures sitting at 5 degrees for Windsor. You're going to want to get out and enjoy the temperatures because we are tracking this Colorado low making its way northeast, impacting southern Ontario, bringing a wet, soggy mess. So it starts overnight on Wednesday. We have some scattered flurries in cottage country, and then we have this system making its way to southern Ontario, Windsor for your morning commute. The rain will pick up as we head into the afternoon hours, and we do have snowfall as well with the system. However, because Windsor, you're sitting at about 0 degrees, just above freezing level, it's more of a wet, soggy rainfall for you. We do have some flurries on the back end of the system, but the rain is really impacting Lake Ontario, the shorelines, as well as Lake Erie with this system. Wind gusts not too much to deal with, about 18 to 20 kilometers an hour, but as I mentioned, there will be some snowfall on the back end of this system. Nothing too major by any means, but a little bit wet in nature. You could experience some mixing as well, but as you head north, this is about 15 to 20 centimeters of snowfall for Ontario Central as well as Quebec and Montreal. So definitely something to consider. In terms of when will you see the sunshine again? Well, fingers crossed it is the weekend, because Friday is still going to be a pretty cloudy day with the system, sitting at -6 as your Friday overnight temperature. But your Saturday, here comes the sunshine. Southern Ontario, you've definitely needed it. Nothing but clear skies and sitting at 0 degrees for Windsor, so get out and enjoy it.
And when we come back, are hydrogen-powered buses the future? We'll take a look after the break. 2 hydrogen-powered buses will soon be hitting the roads in Edmonton. There are high hopes riding on the city's pilot project. Success of the trial run in extreme weather conditions could help fuel the energy needs for Alberta and beyond. Julia Wong reports.
This Edmonton transit bus looks and feels like your average bus, but there's one major difference. It's powered by hydrogen.
There's no engine, there's no transmission.
This big black fuel cell uses hydrogen and oxygen to create energy to drive the bus. There are 0 emissions. The byproducts, heat and water.
These are ways for us to have sustainable fuel, really look at climate action, and put a big punch into that.
For 1 year, the city will track how the bus handles distances and Alberta's extreme temperatures.
It's certainly part of our desire to be emissions neutral by 2050.
On a full tank, this bus would be able to run between 300 and 480 kilometers, the same as a regular diesel bus.
Hydrogen is on fire right now globally.
Brian Helfenbaum says $500 billion of hydrogen projects have been announced worldwide in the last few years. Alberta has vast reserves of natural gas, which can be converted into hydrogen. The province is aiming to become a hydrogen hub.
We already have the technologies in place to make it, to move it, and to use it. Ultimately, hydrogen could supply essentially all of our heavy haul vehicles and our trains and our ships and our planes.
12 years ago, BC scrapped 20 hydrogen buses because of costs. Experts say the technology has matured. Safety has also been addressed over the years, and the time is now ripe.
In Canada, we have about 4,000 people currently employed in the clean hydrogen sector. We expect to see that to grow by orders of magnitude as we're able to displace more polluting forms of energy.
If things go well with the pilot, there's potential to transition the bus fleet and perhaps an identity.
Changing that concept of oil country to a sustainable fuel is something, people don't often get an opportunity to kind of be a part of. And it starts with one bus, but we're looking at many things beyond that.
And all that starts when the hydrogen buses hit the road in February. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
This next story is for book lovers everywhere. A ship literally carrying thousands of stories has just docked in Egypt. Logos Hope, the largest floating international book fair, recently pulled into Port Said. Its long-standing mission is to promote knowledge and diversity. The crew, made up of volunteers from dozens of nations wearing their traditional costumes, welcomed visitors aboard. The ship offers a selection of about 5,000 different titles in a vast array of subjects, both in Arabic and English. It's operated by a nonprofit organization in Germany. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. But before we go, I want to take a moment here to say goodbye to Stacey Janzer. It's her last day with CBC Windsor. She produced tonight's newscast, and many of you have, of course, seen her reporting on your screens for years. She's leaving us, but will stay in the CBC family. She's starting a new chapter with CBC PEI. So Stacey, we're going to miss you a bunch and wish you the very best of luck out east. They're very lucky to have you. And to all of you, thanks for watching and have a good night.